Hey everyone, just going to do a little quick video showing you how the tuning is working with the Holley EFI. What is it doing? How is it doing it? Just what do the numbers on the screen mean? The closed loop and learn, and what are those? And I'll show you here on Joe's bus. When you fire it up, you'll let that screen warm up. Now if you can see it, up in your top left corner, you've got your air-fuel ratio. You can watch those are reading just fine. What you're going to have on your air-fuel screen also, on either side in the middle, is an open loop, which will turn to closed loop at about 120 degrees. And then you have the learn, which will start learning at 140 degrees. Just when the engine's fully warmed up, I have closed loop come on a little bit earlier, just to help it kind of sink in a little bit while you drive. But you wonder, like, what do these numbers mean? What do they do? When it does warm up, they start bouncing all over the place. We don't know what they're doing. Some of you EFI guys know exactly what they are, but so this is for the guys that are just gone from carburetor over to EFI and just go, what am I looking at? This is Greek to me. Give me some info. So I'm going to let this warm up. We're going to get this thing to start learning, start doing closed loop, run some RPMs. And then I'm going to show you on the laptop what those translate to inside the computer. So you'll have a better idea of what's going on while it's driving. So let's let it warm up and I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, here we are. We've got the bus warmed up and idling. We've got the temperature sensor well into where it's going to learn. It's going to run closed loop learning. It's going to do regular learning. It's doing it all. But what do these numbers mean? If we go to the air fuel screen, that gives us a little more detail. You can see we've taken out 19% fuel at idle. But right now, because it's learned to that level, now I'll explain this a little better with the laptop, but it's learned to take out that much fuel in that cell of the map at that RPM to that manifold air pressure signal. We're playing within just a couple percent to keep the fuel right where the target is. This is where the system is self-learning. Now if you notice, as soon as we give it any throttle, we're going to change the RPM and the map signal. We're going to go into a different part of the fuel map. And what that's going to do, reset your learn. You can see previous learnings all right here. And you can see your instant closed loop compensation going right there. That's what you get instantly to try to make you hit your target air-fuel ratios as you drive. So closed loop is the quick learn. That's going to be as instantaneous as it can make it. The learning is much slower, and that's what's going to transfer over to a shadow on top of the fuel map in order to make it do it at once. So we go back down to idle. You'll see it goes back to roughly that 18%. Our closed loop, just because we get off the gas, we had a little lean condition. It starts playing at the fuel. It's trying to hit that target constantly. It's not just a measured metered amount. It's always reading the exhaust, always trying to get you dialed into where you need to go. So let's take a look at it, at the engine with the laptop, and see just what does this mean, because these numbers could still be confusing to people, what these percentages mean. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we are in real time running the engine. This kind of shows you what is going on inside the throttle body, what's going on inside the ECU. If you can see right here, it may be hard to see on this screen, you'll see that moving around. That is your RPM versus your map signal, your manifold air pressure, manifold absolute pressure, whatever you want to call it, it's your map. And so you're idling at this air pressure at this RPM, and it's tuning all right there. So there's your fuel map. You basically have RPM from 600 RPM up to 9,000, 20 kPa, which is pretty thin air. No one really drives at 20 kPa. All the way to 105 kPa. So this is good down to sea level and maybe just a little bit more. So based on where you're at, and that's why you can drive this thing from a 10,000 foot ski resort down to the beach, and you don't have to touch anything because it's reading manifold air pressure. There's no altitude adjustments to do anymore. You don't need to do anything in that regard. This system does all the adjusting for you. So what is it doing? We got this whole fuel map right here. It's building it. This one's still in process of building its fuel map, still tuning. So it's doing closed loop. It's doing the instantaneous tuning right off the bat. But what it's also doing is learning. And so what do you have for learning? Well, you've got
your learn table. Now this, we just reflashed this before we started on this. We kind of skewed the numbers just to get it to learn again, just so we could give you an example. So really all we've really driven it is right here where it idle, it's hanging out right there. You can see there's that 18, 19% like we were talking right there. We gave it some gas up here. It started pulling some fuel out. You saw that just a second ago. And that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna shadow this entire map percentage-wise on top of this fuel map. So it's gonna take the percentage off of all these numbers as you drive through based on RPM and manifold pressure, which is, you know, dictated by throttle position. It's gonna determine how much manifold pressure you have. So it's gonna tune all of these cells. It's not just doing one fat, you know, it's lean at idle and it goes richer at full throttle. We have a full map going on, and what it's trying to reach a target as is we have a much smaller map here. This is your manifold air pressure, there's your engine RPM, and this is the fuel map that we've built to make things kind of work really well with this engine. And you can see it just kind of cruises around, does its thing there. So when you're closed loop, when you're running on closed loop, it's instantly changing percentages on this map. But as you learn it, or it learns itself, it will slowly tick. Say if you had 10% closed loop, if you could stay in that one cell driving, it will slowly transfer that 10% over to the learn. And so then your learn goes to 10%, your closed loop goes to 0. Now it's never gonna always stay 0. There's always outside forces that are gonna affect things, engine heat, things like that. So you're gonna have a constant, you know, up to 5% on closed loop, no matter what. You're just not gonna get rid of that. But that's the beauty of the EFI, is no matter what, it's running you right on the number. So that's what it's doing. Your learn table is going from there into this, and now we're gonna show you, so we have all this, how do you transfer this learn table into the EFI? Because after a certain point, this is only good for 50%. After that, it's gonna max out. So if you need, you know, 50% more, 50% less fuel, and you're maxing out your learn percentage or your closed loop percentage past 50%, well, you need to transfer it, which will then zero out your learn table map, and then put everything back to 0 here. It's gonna transfer all these percentage numbers onto your fuel map and make a whole new fuel map. So let's show you how to do that. You can do it while it's running, you can do it while the engine's off. We're gonna show you how to transfer that whole table over and see what she does for you. Okay, we're back at the dash module here, the little screen, touch screen here, and you wanna figure out how to get that learn table transferred over. So you can keep the system able to tune as far as it needs to get you right on those targets. So all you do is you go back to your home screen, and from there, you go tuning, advanced learn, and then go transfer table. And do you want to do it? Sure thing. And now you've transferred everything over. Now, as soon as you get your tune closer and closer and you find your closed loop and your learn percentages, say they constantly stay below 20%. Well, you can go in here and change this one and change it down to, like, say 25%. You just want to stay ahead of what its learn percentages are. At some point, you're going to get it down to less than 10%, and once you're there, you're good. Just leave your EFI at, you know, 8-10% maximum. That way, if you have an O2 sensor failure or something goes wrong, all it's going to do is kick out that percentage more fuel. So your worst case scenario is it runs a little bit lean or a little bit rich to get you to the parts store to get a new O2 sensor or whatever may be going on. Just like anything, things can happen, but that's basically it. You just hit run, okay, and then hit home and go back to your monitors. And now, you go to your air fuels, you see our current learn percentage is now at 0. Closed loop's hanging out at 2. So we've transferred all the percentages onto the fuel map. So we're no longer at 19%, 18, 19, wherever it bounced around at. Now we're sitting there at 0, and it's just kind of cruising around under 5% on the closed loop. That'll happen to the entire fuel map that you drive in over time. And that's the beauty of the system. It tunes itself. Depending on how far off the tune is, you may have to do this a few times, more often as you first install it, and then the longer you drive it, eventually you won't even look at this display anymore because it's old news. and it's just going to become a diagnostic tool at that point. If it starts running odd, you can look at your numbers and see what's going on. But beyond that, just throw it in the glove box, in your package tray, whatever. Doesn't matter. Enjoy the drive. Don't overcomplicate it. Have fun with your EFI system. I hope this explained a lot more of how the system is tuning itself, and you'll have a better understanding of what it's doing as it does it. Appreciate y'all. We'll try to make more information videos. If you have any that you'd like covered, let us know, and we'll see if we can cover those for you. Thanks.